Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4.
It's Friday. That's Michael Bruno always is excited about Friday.
It's a strange week. People had off and back to work.
Yeah, you worked the holiday, then you were off yesterday, now you're back.
Yes,
I know.
We'll forge ahead, and Michael Bruno is here. He's
Yes.
going to the Dells for the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, it's going to be great.
And we'll wrap up the week with the lowdown. But first, here's what's making news on this Friday. It is a big problem with a fairly easy fix as the number of stolen auto cases continues to rise in Madison.
The trade war between the United States and China is escalating, something that has Wisconsin farmers very worried.
And the countdown continues as emergency responders race to rescue that Thai soccer team found alive in a cave.
Let's take a look outside today. Boy,
Wow.
It was beautiful.
Breath of fresh air, wasn't it?
Yes, the drop in the humidity and the sunshine, good stuff.
Absolutely beautiful. Just enjoy it. The weather words. Let's head out to the backyard. Gary Canalti with a look at a great weekend coming up. There he
It is
is.
looking that way, yeah. The humidity levels are low, the sun is shining, and the temperatures are comfortably warm, so you can't ask for much more than that. Let's start out by taking a look at visible cloud track, and you can see there's hardly a cloud to be found through much of southern Wisconsin. Things very quiet across the state. A couple of showers and thunderstorms moving into western Minnesota, and those are falling apart as they move eastward. Low temperatures this morning, much more comfortable. Even a few 40s up to the north of the Dells. Here in Madison, we bottomed out at 59 degrees. A few places stayed in the 60s, but current temperatures are very comfortable. Upper 70s to around 80 degrees, a little cooler near Lake Michigan, but the dew point temperatures, remember they were in the 70s yesterday? Take a look at them now. Upper 40s here in the Madison area, a few 50s out to the west of us, so very comfortable conditions. So that heat index, you don't have to worry about that. The temperatures and the heat index are about the same. Otherwise, as we take a look at our forecast first, look for temperatures to fall into the middle 50s by early tomorrow morning, but we'll see a quick warm up after that. Skies will be mostly sunny. High temperatures should top out at around 81 degrees. As we take a look at first alert traffic, this is the live view from the DOT camera on the Beltline at Broadway. A little bit of a slowdown in the eastbound direction there, but again, with this being a holiday week and the holiday in the middle of the week, traffic looking pretty good in both directions on the Beltline. Just a few minor slowdowns there. Not seeing any problems right now on the interstates south and east of Madison, I-3990 down to the Illinois state line, I-94 out toward Milwaukee, or heading north and west up toward the Dells on I-3990 and 94 or US 151 through Dodge County. That's your first alert traffic.
Good, Gary. Nice looking weekend coming up. We'll check back in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Gary. Frustrated, that is how Madison police say they feel as auto thefts in the city continue to climb.
Especially since they say the solution to the problem is fairly simple. Our Keely Arthur joining us in studio. She's been covering this issue and shares the department's concerns. Keely.
That's right. Auto thefts in the city of Madison are up 20% compared to this time last year. That's more than 200 thefts so far for 2018. Here's a look at June. 38 cars were stolen in Madison, the most happening over on the west side. 36 out of the 38 had the keys inside. Police say the crimes are predominantly committed by juveniles. Officers are urging the community to be vigilant. Lock your cars, garage doors, and home because they fear these joyrides will become far more deadly.
We're concerned that without having any driving history, they're going to crash into a car that might contain your mom, dad, sister, uncle, aunt, and cause, great bodily harm or death to them, or wrap themselves around a pole or a tree.
If you do see a car that's suspected of being stolen or someone is driving recklessly, call it in. Make sure you get the make, model, and most importantly, the license plate number for police. And officers also want the judicial system to do their part. They say more often than not, these teens who commit these crimes are released within a day and typically repeat their offenses. We'll hear more about that coming up on News 3 at 6.
So just don't leave your keys in the car.
That is a big way to solve this problem.
All right. Thanks, Keely.
Thank you, Keely. Tensions are rising between the U.S. and China over trade after President Trump initiated new tariffs. Beijing has accused Washington of triggering the largest scale trade war in history as the conflict over tariffs between the world's two biggest economies sharply escalated. The U.S. slapped levies of $34 billion worth of Chinese Chinese goods, and that number will increase to 50 billion in the next 2 weeks. China said it had no choice but to strike back, matching tariffs on U.S. products.
If we knock down the trade deficit, right, by just a little bit, 25%, and we can do that easily. That's easy. If we do that, we pick up 1 point in GDP, okay? So they couldn't find any.
At a rally in Montana, the president said the tariffs are necessary to stop China from stealing intellectual property and overproducing metals. But Republican lawmakers from the nation's heartland and business leaders have reservations. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce says retaliatory tariffs threaten about $1 billion of Wisconsin's exports.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in North Korea in Pyongyang. Pompeo will have a follow-up visit about denuclearization. This is Pompeo's third visit to the country and the first since last month's meeting in Singapore between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. President Trump told Fox News on Sunday that he trusted Kim would dismantle his nuclear program, but admitted the deal could fall apart.
Have I been in deals? Have you been in things where people didn't work out? It's possible.
The Washington Post reported that U.S. intelligence believes the North Koreans are planning to conceal the number of warheads in their arsenal. One hoped-for breakthrough during Pompeo's visit would be the return of the remains of U.S. soldiers killed during the Korean War. Lawyers for Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign chair, says their client is being kept in solitary confinement. Manafort is waiting for his trial on financial charges. His lawyers say he is locked in a jail cell in Virginia for 23 hours a day since the facility cannot guarantee his safety. They're asking a federal appeals court to overturn a judge's order and release him under certain conditions before his trial.
The race to rescue the Thai soccer team trapped in a cave turned deadly overnight for one volunteer diver. Time is running out, and so is oxygen in the cave. With so many workers in the underground complex, authorities are rushing to install a 3-mile-long oxygen tube. A former Thai Navy SEAL diver died from lack of oxygen overnight when he passed out underwater.
We try to set a plan because we afraid of the weather and the oxygen in the cave.
Authorities are trying to get the floodwaters to a level where the boys would not have to dive and could swim with life jackets with their heads above water. The monsoon rains that are approaching this weekend, and they are quickly running out of options. So crews are trying to find another entrance on top of the mountain, and they may drill a hole down into the rock to try to reach the trapped boys.
Marquette University says it will comply with an order from the Wisconsin Supreme Court to reinstate a conservative professor who was fired in connection to a blog post that criticized a student instructor. The court sided with former Professor John McAdams today, saying the school breached a contract with him that guaranteed academic freedom. In a statement, the university says the case was never about free speech, but rather a professor who used a personal blog to mock a student teacher and intentionally expose her to a hostile audience. McAdams' blog post criticized a student teacher he believed shut down discussion about opposition to gay marriage. That student teacher received a flood of hateful messages and threats because of the post. Well, the iconic carousel from Ella's Deli is on its way to a new home. As
we reported yesterday, Epic Systems, the medical software giant, has purchased it along with other decor from the now closed restaurant. Well, now comes the task of moving it. Eric Franke has more from the News Center. Eric?
Now, we've all seen the carousel, Susan and Mark, but what many of us may not know is the rich history behind it. Generations, of course, have taken a spin or two on it. It was originally built back in 1927 in Leavenworth, Kansas. It even operated in a park in New York for nearly 2 decades, just a few miles from Niagara Falls. It was restored after heat and moisture had damaged it. It found a new home at Ella's Deli along East Wash in the 1980s. And now, as the owners of Ella's Deli have moved on to retirement, a new chapter for the historic carousel begins.
Epic is just the perfect fit as far as the collection and the carousel is concerned. They support the arts. They will maintain it. They will display it in areas. They're very creative out there.
It has been a bit of an emotional whirlwind for Ken Balkin as he watches 40-plus years of his life's work wrapped up in boxes and shipped off. He says he appreciates the sensitivity the moving crews are showing and the care they are taking in moving that and the art collection. He says it's important to him that both the carousel and that collection of art from Ella's Deli will stay together, and they remain hopeful that the actual building will remain a restaurant. Details on that are still being worked out. Balkin and his wife Judy are ready to move on to the next chapter of their lives, but they want to thank Madison, Ella's customers, and he really wanted to thank the hundreds of employees who have helped make Ella's special over the past 41 years. Mark and Susan?
It is the end of an era, boy, that's for sure. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
Well, new neighbors in Eau Claire started off as complete strangers, but after learning more than a name, the two women ended up closer than either could have imagined. Hillary Harris was adopted at 1 month old. She started searching for her biological family a few years ago when she got pregnant with her daughter. Adoption records indicated her biological dad passed away and that she had 2 half-sisters. She was able to track down most of her biological family except for her sister, Dawn Johnson, from Greenwood. But that changed when the house next door was sold, and a Dawn from Greenwood moved in and met Hillary's husband.
He comes in and he's like, yeah, I met the neighbor. Her name's Dawn. Dawn from Greenwood. I'm like, Lance's like, yeah. I'm like, you don't get it? He's like, what are you talking about? And so I went on and pulled out all my adoption paperwork. And I said, Dawn, Greenwood, sister, you know? And he's like, oh my gosh. That moment when I first embraced her in the driveway, I mean, it was amazing. It was a miracle.
Dawn says this discovery almost didn't happen. The closing on their new home was postponed 3 times, and they almost walked away in frustration. The two sisters say they are enjoying getting to know one another.
It is a miracle.
What
It's
are the
incredible.
odds?
I know.
There's, what, 65,000 people in Eau Claire, all these houses.
And how many Dawns from Greenwood? Probably several.
Wow.
Incredible story.
Buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah. Apartment buildings are changing the way they do business as more people shop online.
How they're dealing with a large amount of deliveries and packages. That's coming up next at 4.
With more people shopping online, developers of high-rise buildings are rethinking their designs.
This is the Atlas, a high-rise building in Midtown Manhattan. Owners recently remodeled the lobby to increase space for packages. Some buildings are even incorporating climate-controlled rooms to keep grocery deliveries fresh.
A lot of the things that I'm looking for, I don't necessarily have the ability or the desire to carry home.
I think it's really just a sign of the times in terms of, how much the internet is affecting people's lives.
Some apartments are also using a company called Building Link, which tracks and manages packages in real time. And both FedEx and UPS offer programs that help people customize their deliveries.
A mix-up with some forever stamps is costing the U.S. Postal Service $3.5 million. The statue appears to show the Statue of Liberty, but it's actually a smaller replica located in Las Vegas. Its sculptor sued the USPS for copyright infringement, and a federal judge agreed yesterday and ordered the Postal Service to pay the fine. The Postal Service said it took the image from a licensed photograph and did not know the image was not the original.
Whoops. How can that happen? Let's take a look at Wall Street today. Investors liked a good jobs report. The Dow Industrials gained 99 points, ending the week at 24,456. The NASDAQ Composite Index added almost 102. The S&P 500 was up 23. Well, the cheese industry is finding itself in the crossfires of U.S. trade negotiations. China expected to implement new tariffs today on the U.S. cheese industry.
Mexico imposed a retaliatory tariff last month on the industry in response to a tariff the Trump administration placed on Mexican steel and aluminum. Dean Reynolds visited the Sartori Cheese Company in Plymouth, Wisconsin, where 12% of the company's business involves exports.
This was milled just a few hours ago. At the Sartori cheese plant in Plymouth, Wisconsin, turning humble curds into Parmesan, cheddar, and other table favorites is a thing to behold. But these days, in addition to dipping their 20-pound wheels into wine or hand-rubbing them with pepper, an unwanted ingredient is being added to their business: tariffs.
The president is focused on helping protect American workers and American industries and create a fair playing field.
That's fine, says Jeff Schwager, the president of Sartori Company, but tariffs are the wrong way to reach that goal.
I have yet to find an example where tariffs have worked for the long-term good of the country that first imposes them.
The president's protectionist moves have prompted U.S. trading partners to retaliate with tariffs of their own on such Wisconsin exports as cranberries, apples, and Harley-Davidson motorcycles. American cheese is more expensive to buy now in Mexico and Canada, Sartori's two biggest foreign markets. U.S. dairy exports totaled $5.5 billion last year, including $1.3 billion to Mexico alone.
If this is going to go on long-term, the customers down there will look for an alternative product without the tariffs on it.
Overproduction has already created a glut of milk on the market, driving down dairy prices and threatening some of the 130 family farms on which Sartori relies. Stacy Lindberg has 75 cows.
This is a great time to be a dairy farmer.
No, it's not. We don't make a lot of money. We're not really making any money at this point in time.
The Lindbergh farm produces about 5,000 pounds of milk every day. You can't just snap your fingers and stop that flow. These are animals, after all.
We don't know, are the companies eventually going to put a limit on how much we can produce per day, how much we can ship per day? That's a big if.
Stacy voted for Mr. Trump, but wonders why he made trade such a big deal.
Do you think he created an issue that wasn't really an issue from your point of view?
Right now, yes, and in hindsight, yes.
She hopes this may just be a negotiating ploy by the president, and so does Jeff Schwager.
Is this a bluff? You know, I don't know that it's a bluff, but I sure hope there's a strategy behind this.
Dean Reynolds, Plymouth, Wisconsin.
It's going to be an interesting time for
it's going to be
America's
a big
Dairyland.
developing story. Yep.
Right. Well, coming up, some small changes at an arcade in England are making a big difference.
How the arcade is making gaming more fun for players with autism. We'll have that story when Live at 4 continues.
Well, take a look at this. They call him Coconut Boy, and the reason is obvious. He uses his mouth for a task that normally requires a claw hammer. His name is Ajay Singh Sisodia. He's from India. He peels off the husk of a coconut with his teeth. With dizzying speed, he can peel a coconut and drink its milk in 10 seconds. He can do 6 in a minute. So if you need a coconut husk, he's the neighborhood go-to guy.
What are his dental secrets?
I don't like coconut to begin with.
Gums.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you ever try to get into a coconut?
I've seen them try to open them in Hawaii.
Just use your teeth next time.
No thanks.
It's Friday, July 6th. It is Comic Sans Day, the font people love to hate. It was designed by Vincent Conair in 1994, released by Microsoft the same year. Thanks a lot, Vincent.
I like it, actually. Most people hate it, though. I know, it's funny.
I like this. It's National Fried Chicken Day.
Yum.
Crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. Fried chicken originated in the American South. The first recipe for fried chicken was first published in 1825 in the Virginia Housewife or Methodical Cookbook.
I believe that is the KFC in Shanghai that we're showing video of.
That's the only video we have of fried chicken.
And pucker up, it is International Kissing Day. Established in 2006, it focuses on kisses between lovers, but all types of kisses are celebrated. There's even a kissing competition. The world record kiss lasted over 56 hours. Be sure to pack your peppermints.
Can I blow a kiss to my wife, Jean?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Hold on. There you go.
Because it's our anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. 22nd.
22nd. Congratulations.
That's wonderful.
She's put up for me for that long.
Yeah.
I don't know what the over-under was.
She's a saint, I'll tell you that.
You got that right.
Congratulations, Gene.
Thank you. And we have warm weather, but not too humid weather for the weekend. Almost a picture-perfect weekend. But the heat and humidity will be back next week. I'll have our first alert forecast in a few minutes. Well, finally, Mother Nature has taken a break from the heat and humidity. The skies have cleared out, but the dew point temperatures have dropped way down, so the air has dried out significantly. You can see hardly a cloud to be found anywhere in the state of Wisconsin. A few showers and thunderstorms over western Minnesota are dying out. In fact, you take a look at Doppler track, just a little cluster of showers and storms there. If anything, they're building more toward the southeast and will not affect Wisconsin. Otherwise, we take a look at our high temperature trend over the next week. Well, enjoy the low to mid 80s for the weekend. 81 for tomorrow, 84 for a high temperature on Sunday. But look what happens after that. We're back to the upper 80s beginning on Monday and stay close to 90 all the way through the end of next week with higher humidity as well. So heat index values are going to be back in the 90 to 100 degree range through much of that time period. And looking farther out into the future, not much change. 8 to 14-day temperature outlook just updated today from the Climate Prediction Center. About a 60 to 65% chance of above normal temperatures across Wisconsin. Highest probabilities in New England and also out west. Below normal temperatures expected over parts of Arizona where some moisture, good, well-needed moisture for working on the drought conditions there. So above normal precipitation there, but across much of the rest of the country, precipitation near or below normal. Time lapse from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville shows a beautiful red sky this morning, but look at how clear the skies were. A couple of cumulus clouds popped up, and even those have been dying out through the afternoon hours. The live view from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam shows mostly sunny skies there. Well, looks like one little cloud out there to the west. Otherwise, things are very quiet. The WISC Skycam, this is looking back toward the east, shows mostly clear skies here, and the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. A beautiful day to be on the southern end of Lake Mendota and the UW campus. As we check out the almanac for today, high temperature so far 77, the low temperature 59. So we actually may see a day with below normal temperatures. Not by much, but comfortably below normal. 77, the current temperature. Skies are mostly sunny. The air is calm. The dew point temperature is in the upper 40s and the relative humidity only at 36%. That is a big change from what we've seen. And when you have the lower dew points, the temperatures can cool off more at night. Last night, temperatures were in the 40s through much of northern Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. Generally 50s across the rest of the state. A few places like Milwaukee and La Crosse stayed above the 60-degree mark. We'll probably be a few degrees cooler than that for tonight. Current temperatures. How could you argue with temperatures in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees with low humidity? It doesn't get much better than that this time of year. And as we look at weather track, you can see the upper level winds have shifted, at least for the time being, to the northwest. So that's starting to bring in that drier air. Southern part of the United States, jet stream actually going from east to west. That's the tropical moisture starting to show up there. And eventually that will turn back toward the northeast and start bringing rain into parts of Arizona. Out in the Pacific Ocean, things pretty quiet. There was a little tropical activity earlier. That has since dissipated. Current weather map, high pressure sitting almost right over us. There is a warm front out to the west of us. On the other side of that warm front, temperatures get back into the upper 80s and 90s back into Montana and the western Dakotas. But it'll take a couple days before the heat starts to build here. So temperatures in the 70s and 80s and dew point temperatures in the 40s and 50s. It just means that we'll see a nice weekend of weather around here. So our forecast for tonight calls for skies to be mostly clear. It'll be comfortably cool, low temperature dropping to 54. Tomorrow, a mostly sunny and warm day, but not too humid. High temperature right around 81. On future track, you can see those temperatures dropping off into the middle 50s by early tomorrow morning. For tomorrow, look for high temperatures right around 80 or a little bit above. For tomorrow night, clear skies, temperatures drop back into the upper 50s, mid to upper 50s. And then on Sunday, look for high temperatures to be in the 80s. Notice the winds, though, becoming more southerly. And so with time, that means we're going to start warming up. And that starts on Monday. Look for high temperatures on Monday in the upper 80s. And we're back to close to 90 for much of next week. Humidity levels come back up. So look for dew point temperatures in the upper 60s to around 70. That means overnight low temperatures, upper 60s to around 70. Maybe a chance of thunderstorms toward the end of next week, but none of those days look really high in rain chances. So maybe by the end of next week, we could actually use some rain.
So water the lawn again.
Go figure.
After all that rain. All right, Gary. Sounds like a great weekend.
Yeah,
sure does.
Beautiful.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Well, teens and young children are often attracted to games and the loud atmosphere of arcades. But for kids with autism, that sensory overload can often create an unsettling experience.
A new initiative in Britain aims to make gaming enjoyable for everyone. Riley Carlson has the story from Bristol, England.
Coming into play today?
For Michelle Rebello Tyndall, a trip to the arcade is not a common outing. She has 3 kids with autism.
As an autism family, we understand that the world can be a really overwhelming place.
But she's brought Emily, James, and 17-year-old Lauren to this gaming store in southwest England for a different arcade experience.
They're just stacking up.
There's no loud music, lighting is softer, and gamers can bring their own headphones, adjustments to help people with autism.
It's kind of hard to get my siblings out the door because they do kind of struggle being outside. They're on a higher spectrum than I am.
Lauren's mother, Michelle, works for an autism awareness group called Dimensions that has teamed up with Belong Gaming Arenas to provide a more inclusive space.
Why is this a good fit for the people that come?
So it's a good opportunity for them to try something they wouldn't necessarily get to try in any other situation, but it's in a place where they're happy and it's secure for them.
Lauren says it makes her feel included and gives her a sense of independence.
I kind of feel like my own person. I can kind of just sit on my own screen playing my own games and no one's going to really say anything, or I could bring a group of friends.
The unique space is unlocking a new world for a whole new audience. Riley Carlson, CBS News, Bristol, England.
Great idea. The autism-friendly arcades are being tested in 2 gaming stores in England.
And advocates hope to eventually roll out the program across the UK.
Well, the summer of Marvel continues, but on a smaller scale with the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
A look at the movie as it gears up for its first weekend at the box office. That's when Live at 4 continues.
The terrace might be busy on a Friday evening.
Beautiful tonight.
Yeah, what a great evening to get out. Live look downtown. The latest Marvel movie hits theaters this weekend, and unlike the massive action of Avengers Infinity Wars, this one takes place on a slightly smaller scale.
David Daniel talked with the cast of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So, how long have you been Ant-Man again?
Not long.
It just sort of happened.
Marvel sequels don't just happen, but they do seem inevitable. Paul Rudd returns in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
It's nice to have all of that stuff that we had to establish already established and have people know that we're playing these parts and buy us in these parts so that we can really just hit the ground running.
Running, shrinking, growing, and fighting. This time alongside Evangeline Lilly, whose Hope Van Dyne gets her chance to shine.
I'd say if there's somebody that's changed the most, it might be Evangeline. She seems to be finally doing what she was born to do.
Every time I put on the suit, no matter what my day was, it took me right to that place, and I could just immediately feel like a superhero.
You gave her wings and blasters. So I take it you didn't have that tech available for me?
No, I did.
Michael Douglas returns as Hope's father, the creator of all that tech.
What makes you feel better than it being a movie that's seen by the entire world, that everybody loves? It tends to bring people together. The only chance we've got is both of you.
Ant-Man and the Wasp teaming up.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Evangeline Lilly's Wasp, by the way, is the first female Marvel superhero to share equal title billing with a male hero.
It's about time.
Yes.
And our Will Loper will tell us what he thinks of Ant-Man and the Wasp Monday here on Live at 4.
When we come back, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Actually, we're headed to the Dells with Michael Bruno and Toto, too. He goes backstage at the Palace Theater's production of The Wizard of Oz when Live at 4 continues.
Oh, as First Alert Traffic, one of the nice things about having a holiday in the middle of the week is that the traffic kind of gets spread out. So for a Friday, the Beltline moving pretty well. This is the live view from the Beltline at Park Street from the DOT traffic camera there, and you can see traffic moving pretty steadily in both directions. As far as any slowdowns, looks like a minor slowdown southbound on Stoughton Road around Flom Road. Also a couple of slowdowns on Highway 151 Verona Road through the construction zone, and also on University Avenue approaching the Beltline on the west side. Otherwise, travel times right now 15 minutes in either direction between University Avenue and the interstate on the Beltline. If you're heading out of Madison, some slowdowns in spots southbound on I-3990 heading toward Janesville, about a 38-minute commute there, but it's 17 minutes out to Sauk City on US 12 and 16 minutes to Sun Prairie on US 151 East Washington Avenue. That's your first alert traffic.
All right, Gary, thank you. Feline features are sometimes prized in humans, but is the reverse true? A cat breeding organization shared a video of a newborn cat with an oddly human-like face in Moscow. The 2-day-old kitten called Chimera looks right into the camera, even giving a little wink. The kitten is a Maine Coon breed, and she is lighting up the internet. That's kind of creepy.
It is. It is. It doesn't even look real. Are we sure that's real?
Blue eyes?
Wow.
2 days old, though? There's a little wink.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to the 1939 classic film, we all know the story of The Wizard of Oz.
Dorothy, the gang, and Toto, too, have taken over the stage of the Palace Theater in the Dells this summer. Our Michael Bruno goes backstage to check out the Broadway musical version of The Wizard of Oz.
Did you just hear what I just heard?
That noise don't come from an ordinary bird.
It may be just a cricket or a critter in the trees.
It's giving me the jitters and the joints around my knees.
I think I see a shadow and it's fuzzy and it's furry.
I haven't got a brain, but I think I ought to worry. I haven't got a heart, but I feel a palpitation.
As Monica the Forest, I don't like this situation.
Are you gonna stand around and let him fill us full of horror?
Well, I'd like to roar him down. But I think I lost my roar.
The stage version is quite different from the movie, only because you get the chance to be truly in the room with someone. Don't we all wish that we could have a conversation with Judy or Ray? And instead, you get this magical moment when you're on stage, where as an actor, I can feel the energy of the audience along with me. And so even though we're telling the story that's going to remind everybody of the wonderful nostalgia that comes along with the movie The Wizard of Oz, we all get to go on the journey together. All the bees and the breeze and the bats and the trees have a terrible, horrible buzz. But the bees and the breeze and the bats and the trees couldn't do what the jitterbug does.
What's it like being in The Wizard of Oz, but being the person that all the kids are terrified of?
Oh, it's the most fun. It is the best part of the whole show. I think because it's the part that kids are most terrified of, you really get to play with it, and you really get to morph into this type of creature, and it's fun to play with their imagination.
And how difficult it is to do this, because there's a lot of singing and dancing, and you're in a lot of makeup and a lot of costume in there.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hot. It's really, really hot. I keep a lot of Powerade, a lot of water backstage, because sometimes when I come up, I'm just panting and sweating. But when you get out there, you get this adrenaline rush when you're in front of the audience and the crowds, and when you hear the laughter and the applause, and people love the lion. And so it really just boosts me up, and it helps me to give a better performance. And sometimes I just forget how tired I am.
I think for an actor, what I think is the most difficult thing is that you want to be authentic and original, but with the character, like you said, that's so iconic, you do have to bring in what the original actor brought to it. You have to at least give that character a high five when you're doing this. And I think the hardest part for me was the voice. So I don't speak very much like the original Scarecrow did. I do similarly, but I tend to sit a bit lower, and I don't have that nice wistful bit that he had.
Keep away from the jitterbug. The jitterbug. The jitterbug. Jitterbug. The jitterbug. Look out for that bug.
And Michael Bruno's here now. And everybody's saying, wait a minute, I didn't remember that song in the movie.
It's not in the movie. It's the one song that they cut out of the movie for time, and they just wanted to get out to the end of the movie, so they cut the jitterbug out. But it is in this version, and they did actually film it in the movie. So they're little outtakes of them doing the Jitterbug song, which is a great song, but it never did make the final cut of the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that footage. It's kind of creepy, really.
It is kind of creepy. Yeah, it is kind of. But it's in this one, it's really fun. Yeah. It's a really fun number.
The costumes are amazing.
Oh, the costumes are just incredible. They're really, really well done, and they really are authentically heavy for those guys. They really work up a sweat in them, but they're just adorable. Wow. And the production's really wonderful. The little dog that plays Toto is so well behaved. He's such a great, cute little dog.
But all the other songs are in there.
All the other songs, Over the Rainbow, yeah, The Wicked Witch, Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Officer the Wizard. Every other song is in the show.
It's Andrew Lloyd Webber, right? Did the original? No? What am I saying? Did the Broadway?
Andrew Lloyd Webber? Really?
I think so.
I don't think Andrew Lloyd Webber, really? With the Phantom of the Oz? Was that?
Well, who put on the Broadway production?
Call us and let us know. Andrew, are you out there? Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. If it's yours, I apologize.
So this is...
We're playing Stump Michael.
I know.
So this is all summer long.
It's all summer long to the end of August.
And you can dinner and a show?
Dinner and a show, or you can just do the show only. So if you go on their website, they'll give you all the different ways you can enjoy the show.
The Palace Theater in the Dells through the 26th of August. DellsPlazaPalace.com. I'm going to look this up. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
You're off next week.
Yes, I am taking the week off.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I am now taking the week off.
We'll be right back to the final check forecast.
You were right.
It was Andrew Lloyd Webber. All right.
Now
anyway.
we can sleep better.
And we'll also better because it's great sleeping weather.
Take a look at these temperatures right now. Mid to upper 70s, dew point temperatures, upper 40s to lower 50s. Boy, if it can stick around, well, temperatures, at least for another day, will be that way. We'll look for a high tomorrow of about 81 after dropping into the 50s overnight.
Best weekend so far this summer.
I think so.
All right, Gary, thank you. We're right back with Lola's Lowdown. Stay with us.
It may be the dog days of summer, but we know two pooches who are not slowing down.
Lola and intern Louie have been busy compiling the best animal stories of the week for this edition of Lola's Lowdown. This week on the Lowdown, does a bear soak in a tub?
A chimp goes bananas.
And a record litter of whatever these are.
But first, Lola has a couple of birth announcements. First, the Chicago Zoological Society has some happy news to share. The western lowland gorilla, born at the Brookfield Zoo last month, is a girl named Allie. Mother Kula is turning out to be a great first-time mom.
And the newest gorilla at the Dallas Zoo has made its public debut. The zoo's 22-year-old western lowland gorilla named Hope quietly delivered the infant on June 25th. The sex of the newborn is not yet known. Officials say Mom is tired, but she's tending to her newborn perfectly, and the baby appears strong. This is Hope's second baby and the first born at the Dallas Zoo in 20 years.
More baby news. 6 bush pups born at the Chester Zoo in Britain have finally emerged from their den. Their proud mom gave birth to the pups in May. The litter of 2 boys and 4 girls is the zoo's largest ever recorded. Bush dogs are native to Central and South America, but loss of habitat and the spread of disease from domestic dogs are threatening their survival. But these 6 pups are happy and healthy.
This rescued chimpanzee is about to go bananas. The chimp named Limbani was thrilled to be reunited with the couple that raised him. All wrapped up in his onesie, Limbani lives at the Zoological Wildlife Foundation, an endangered animal rescue in Miami. When he first arrived, he was very sick, and the couple gave him around-the-clock care. And according to the foundation, Limbani is all